Hey, you're a very logically minded man and you feel like you've discovered something really, really big in your life. Like something that almost has like a spiritual element to it. Something that you can't really put into words just yet, but for whatever reason, you get out of bed really excited. And at other times you're like doubtful, but you don't really know if you should think you should be pursuing this thing full time. Well, if that's the case, then you've actually clicked on the right video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the signs that you've actually discovered what is called your purpose. Okay. Essentially, it's the reason that you get out of bed in the morning, and it's the reason that you were put here on this planet. See, sometimes when we discover our purpose, it's not completely obvious. It's not as clear as we would prefer. And sometimes we need some more guidance and some accountability and maybe a bit of a push to be able to be like, go after this thing. So hopefully in this video, I'll be able to give you some more reasons and some confirmations that this is actually the thing for you, and that you will give you some more courage and excitement to actually go after this thing full time. So the first sign that you've actually discovered your purpose is that you have difficulty switching it off. Okay. So what do I mean by this? So essentially you like naturally start putting more time into this thing, okay, into this activity. When you first start off, you might be watching a lot of YouTube videos. You might be reading a lot of books on this subject. You might even get to a point where you start to admire like somebody that is performing at a very elite level, and you're like, wow, what if I could do this thing? There's a lot of excitement there. There's also a lot of doubt. And then maybe a little bit further along, you start to put a little bit of money into some of the things that you need to do to at least give this thing a go. And there's like a real like exciting like learning phase that's going on, and you're starting to put like more time into it. You're starting to do this activity. You start to find more time in your schedule to do this activity, and there's this sense of aliveness that's there. You keep coming back to this thing, and you feel like you're going down the rabbit hole per se. Okay, you feel like it's like a worthy distraction of your time, and you tend to have more narrow thoughts now. You're not really like going from distraction to shiny new objects now, because this thing seems to be the thing that you're working on. You're full of curiosity, and you sort of tend to lose track of time. Okay, you get into like a real flow state. For whatever reason, you're like really excited about it, and you can see yourself potentially doing this thing long term. So there is a bit of a caveat here. Okay, it's not some sort of like toxic habit, like porn or alcohol, or like some sort of computer game thing, or like repetitively playing music. It has some sort of like contribution element to it. Okay, it's I believe purpose can be found with somewhere between something that we love and also has a very, very strong contribution element to it. Something that you can actually see that it would benefit other people's lives in some way. And it has like a very selfless element to it. For whatever reason, you keep coming back to this thing. You're really, really excited about it. You're obsessed. And you are really pumped up about this thing, and you want to just see where it goes. So the next reason is your close friends start to notice. Okay, so some of your friends are going to be like supportive and others not so much. Okay, and that's how it works when you start to have these identity shifts. Okay, but the ones that are close to you, the ones that are actually supportive, they might have similar interests to where you're going, or they might just start to ask you questions out of curiosity. So a really big clue here is, let's say you go to work and you're like depleted and you're exhausted at the end of the day, and then after work you go hang out with your friends, and they start asking you some questions about what it is that you're passionate about, what it is that you've been working on, and out of nowhere you get like possessed. Okay, I wouldn't say like a god, because like I'm atheist, and if you're watching my channel you probably are too, but like some sort of like higher power universe is like possessing you, making you become obsessed with this thing, and this energy and this verbal fluency just seems to come out of freaking nowhere. You're able to deliver this content and be able to answer these questions with excitement and like passion, when only like an hour or two before you were like depleted and you just wanted to go home. So one of my sayings is, if you can passionately pull helpful information, like literally out of your ass, to help other people, then you're onto something big. Okay, you're onto something that could potentially be your purpose. Okay, so don't ignore these signs. Okay, don't ignore the fact that you actually get energized from doing this activity and talking about this activity. Okay, you can tell by my energy in this video that I love doing these videos. Okay, I'm passionate about doing these videos. I want to be able to help you with your mindset and with your purpose, and I basically think about this all the time. Okay, so if this is some things that are sort of happening in your life, you're onto something big, and I would encourage you to look closer. Hey, if you're getting something out of this video, then hit that like button and subscribe. It helps out the channel a great deal, and I really appreciate it. Anyway, the next clue, we actually kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, is doing your current job is depressing, okay? So you're no longer spiritually attached to the work that you're doing, okay? Or you never were in the first place. You were just sort of seeing it as like a means to an end, like a means to collect money. And you may not have actually got to that level of consciousness up until recently. When you're forced to do your job, or you're forced to do an activity that is not really in alignment with your purpose, you actually become lightly depressed. You're like disengaged, you're stressed out, you're burnt out. Maybe you're even bored if it's like a low bandwidth activity, and you're just like generally unhappy to do this job anymore. Also, another thing is like you're tired of pretending to be interested and pretending to learn stuff that you're just not passionate about in order to do your job. Okay, you're tired of faking the interest, and it's starting to become very like emotionally tolling on your brain. Sort of using this as a clue is, if your mind is naturally drawn to this thing, okay, at moments of boredom, or maybe when you're on your break at work, or maybe like when you're having like a conversation with a work colleague, like you're sort of like, do I want to talk about this with them? Do I not want to talk about this with them? For whatever reason, okay, your mind is drawn to this task, to this idea, to your purpose when you're currently doing other tasks, then that thing is your purpose, okay? Another thing is like not having the thought of being able to do this thing after hours, or having this release of energy and excitement when you're not forced to go and collect pay. You would probably go insane, okay? So having this mission like after hours for you to actually go and achieve, it feels like your life is actually moving forward and you're striving towards something, and without that you would actually be really, really lost. So knowing that it's there for you waiting to you to be able to go and do keeps you sane, keeps you excited about life, because other areas of your life are not really going in the direction that you want to do just yet. So if your job is not inspiring, okay, and some of these things that I talked about resonated with you, then it really is time to move on, okay? It's time to work out like how to monetize your passion, or to maybe even jump ship into another job that's more fulfilling towards you. So this one actually contradicts what I talked about earlier, and it has to be used with caution, okay? I can't stress this enough, because if you don't use this with caution, and you do this at the wrong time, it'll actually force you to like keep hopping around to different like shiny objects, different purposes, without actually seeing something through, and you'll never actually achieve something. But it is a useful tool when you're a little bit further along in your journey. So the question that I would ask you that really helped me was, if not this, then what? Okay, if not this, then what? So what do I mean by this? I'm like saying like, if not this thing, then what else would I be doing with my life? Like, would there be anything else that is as exciting, that has this contribution element that I would see myself doing in the future? And if you can't actually see like anything better that has all these elements in it, then bro, this is it, okay? This is the thing that you were meant to do, and you've just hit a little bit of a block, and you need to keep going with it, okay? If you say something along the lines of like, I can't think of anything better to do, then this is the thing, okay? And you may not have a full plan just yet. You may not have a full plan on how you're going to execute. But as I said from the very beginning, rough plan or no plan, take your pick. So the next clue is, what is your thoughts at a forced shutdown, okay? So let's say you get sick. Let's say you get into a motor vehicle accident. I hope you don't get into a motor vehicle accident, but let's say in this case you are. You're bedridden for whatever reason. You've had a forced shutdown, okay? You're going through a flu or something, or for whatever reason you're actually impeded in the ability to be able to do that activity, to do that thing that you're passionate about, what you believe might be your purpose, okay? What are your thoughts around this area? Like, where does your mind actually gravitate towards, okay? Like, do you get angry that you can't actually do that thing? Does it piss you off? If that's the case, and you're thinking about these things, then you're onto your purpose, okay? You're onto something big, and hopefully in that segment, it's actually put you onto that right path. So we can't ignore the money aspect of this thing. And this is where like I separate myself from a lot of these woo-woo coaches that are out there, okay? I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I want to deliver you the raw truth. If your purpose, or what you think is your purpose, doesn't actually have like a tangible way to potentially make you money in the future, I know this is hard to hear, but it is just a hobby. Your purpose must have the potential for you to make money in the future. Okay, that's how it works. This is a core concept that I actually got from Ikigai, and is like a core concept of my mentoring, which is the crossroads between what you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, and especially what you can be paid for, okay? You need to realize that this thing has to have a payday. If what you do genuinely helps others and it has inherent value, that at some point, once you're sort of set up enough, you need to be paid. There has to be real potential for it to actually move your life forward, not only spiritually and purposefully, but also financially, okay? We're not just in this for the money, okay, but to be actually like financially validated and rewarded for something that is like really close to your heart. It's just it's just an amazing feeling. I wouldn't be doing this coaching thing if there wasn't this aspect of actually making me money, okay? I want to be able to help you on your goals, and then because I'm delivering value, you're naturally going to want to at some point work with me and pay me money for me to actually help you. That's just the way our capitalist society works. Another thing is like this gives you like a real reason to get excited about your work, okay? You're actually being recognized and validated for your work by being paid for it. It's giving you a little bit of an ego bump, and I think a little bit of an ego bump in this area is actually good. It's going to help with your self-esteem, and it's going to give you more drive to actually contribute to others through your unique skill set. So the next clue is time seems to fly by, okay? You tend to get in what's called a flow state, and time sort of becomes a bit distorted in some way. It's like as if time sort of vanishes for some period of time, mainly because you're like so like engaged and immersed in what you're actually doing. What you're doing tends to come to you very naturally, or if it doesn't actually come to you naturally, at least you see it as like a worthy challenge or like a worthy sacrifice for you to actually keep going into it. So for me, it's these videos, okay? I actually find it quite hard to do these videos. Like it's one of those things that I really got to practice and to keep going and keep doing. For me to mentor somebody, it actually is quite easy for me, but to actually talk into an inanimate object, it actually becomes quite challenging. But what I'm getting at is, for whatever reason, this task is actually like exciting for you. You want to keep doing it. And also when you're faced with challenges, you'll immediately sort of look for a solution to be able to solve that problem so you can keep doing it. So you become very solutions orientated. Hey, if you're getting some out of this video, then hit that subscribe button and also follow me on Instagram. I'll actually leave a link in the description for you. So the next reason that you actually might be onto your purpose is you're experiencing like a lot of roadblocks and doubt, okay? So if you're thinking like, you're having like a lot of thoughts go through your head like this is too good to be true and I don't know if I can do this, there's actually a good chance that what you're talking about and what you're doing and your activity is, it is your purpose, okay? Let me explain. The feeling of like possibly being disappointed in the future means that it actually has inherent meaning towards you, okay? It's important to you, you know, like you're currently immersed in something that you love and that you enjoy doing, and you're worried that if it doesn't actually work out, you'll actually be disappointed. So because of all this, you actually see value in it, okay? And that's why the stakes are high. There's like an emotional connection to what you're actually doing. You might actually have this feeling where you're like afraid to get excited, like a bit of a happiness anxiety, as like Nathaniel Brandon would talk about. because of like the fear of judgment and like the fear of not actually knowing if it's going to work out. So you don't want to get super excited about it because it might not actually work out in the future. So you tend to like push down a lot of this like happiness, and it sort of almost gives you anxiety that this thing might actually go somewhere. So after doing some work on this, you might actually start to self-sabotage, and it might actually like terrify you that it might actually work out. You've got so used to like being doubtful and like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work out, but I'm going to try anyway. And then when things actually start to work out, you actually get a little bit scared. Okay, you get a little bit of like happiness anxiety, and you don't know how to like happily acknowledge your progress this far, let it land, and actually use that to leapfrog you into the future. So what ends up happening, okay, you get scared and you move on to something else, okay, or you end up like pretending to do work that's moving you forward and like beat around the bush per se, and you don't actually move forward that much, and you hit what's called the glass ceiling. Okay, you realize that there's actually a lot of emotional blocks that are like causing you not to move forward. Discovering your purpose is like the end of the ego. Okay, it's like the end of the life of your ego. Okay, it tends to like wreak a lot of havoc around this time and stop you from feeling a sense of faith that things could actually work out. So the next reason is you're watching this type of content. You're actively seeking out this content. Why? Because you actually have like a suspicion that you might actually be onto something big, and you're actually a little bit afraid of it, okay? You're trying to get a little bit more confirmation, a little bit more affirmation that you're actually on the right path. You might actually have legit reasons why you shouldn't actually pursue this thing, but I wouldn't ask you to like ignore those reasons. Rather put those into the framework of ikigai, okay? And analyze like and go deeper into some of these thought processes by actually like analyzing like the failure points. It actually gives you sort of like gets you to be more optimistic, okay? A pessimist becomes an optimist when they have a plan, like when he has a plan, and it'll actually build like a lot of your confidence and a lot of like your self-esteem when you can actually logically justify the way that you're going to go about it and why you're actually in this thing in the first place. If you're still watching this video and you haven't really discovered what it is that we're talking about here, and you're kind of like lost and confused, and you don't really have a plan, you don't even have like a game plan to go after this thing, and you know you're really frustrated and annoyed that you're actually living this very mediocre life that's got no purpose in it, then I encourage you to follow me on Instagram, okay? You've probably already got your phone in your hand, so it's probably not like a super hard task for you. And send me a DM if you have any questions, all right? You know, you're probably a lot closer than you think to discovering your purpose, but you just need a little bit more of a push and a little bit more of a guide towards to do so. So with that being said, maybe you want to check out this video here. And yeah, I hope to talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.